Now, it's time to meet the players of college sports today and get this show started. He's a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, a first-round NFL draft choice, and a member of the College Football Hall of Fame as both a player and coach. He is the head ball coach, Steve Spurrier. He's a rare two-time SEC Player of the Year and spent over a decade in the NFL. Ladies and gentlemen, Shane Matthews. And presenting the host of the show, with over 25 years of sports broadcasting experience, Terry Norvell. Coming to you from the College Sports Today studio, it's time for College Sports Today with Spurrier, Matthews, and Norvell.
This is kind of a special edition of College Sports Today. Shane, Matthews, Terry Norvell kind of in different setups, different studios, but we'll get through it. Coach Spurrier has the day off. Shane Matthews, kind of a special day for a bunch of reasons, including, do you realize this is the final College Sports Today show of the month of July? When we get back together, but baby, we are in college football month when we get back together on Monday.
I guess you're right. I didn't realize it's already the end of July. Yeah,
this is the final weekend of July. Hell, I guess August 1st is Sunday. I think August 1st, Shane, is Sunday. So we're getting there. 29 days until the start of college football. Tomorrow, Shane, 4 exact Saturdays away from Illinois and Nebraska. So, hell, Shane, the NFL boys start next Thursday, preseason.
Already?
Next Thursday is the Hall of Fame game, August 5th.
Who's playing in the Hall of Fame game this year?
Steelers and Cowboys.
I played a long time in the NFL, Terry.
Yeah.
14 years. I never was in the Hall of Fame game.
Is that right?
Yeah, I don't know how they select those teams. Maybe it's just because I was on a bunch of horrible football teams.
Maybe, Shane. Now, I can trump you. I have been to that little stadium. They've expanded it. Remember that little stadium, Fawcett Stadium, I think, in Canton? Have you been to the Hall of Fame? I've been to the NFL Hall of Fame.
I've never been. Never been.
We covered it. That was the Jaguars' first ever game, because the year the Jaguars and the Panthers came in, the year they both came in together, the NFL let them be the Hall of Fame game, right, to give them publicity. So of course that was a big deal in Jacksonville, and me and Frangie went out and did radio and TV out there for a week. The little where they've expanded that now, and I think it's called Tom Benson Stadium now. But Shane, that's just a little high school stadium. The grass is about that high, and it's amazing. Canton, the little town, that week of that Hall of Fame game, buddy, they roll out. It's turned up, as the young people say.
Yeah.
In Canton, but a little tiny high school. It's expanded now, but the NFL Hall of Fame was a little disappointing too. When as a kid you see this, you think it's this big, massive thing. You go inside it's nowhere near as big and massive as you think it is, but it's still pretty neat to see all the Hall of Fame stuff in there. Shane, a lot of topics here. Got you about 25 minutes before we let you get about on your weekend. I want to get obviously a bunch of college football, but I want to start with college basketball. The NBA draft last night, the SEC had a pretty good showing. I think 12 total players drafted, 7 in the first round. Primo from Alabama was the first guy, and I know you liked him a lot. Surprised you a little bit. He was the first guy that went from Alabama, Primo.
I guess, but he was a highly recruited kid that came out, and he's got that NBA game. I think a lot of people that don't follow the NBA, they sometimes wonder why a college star or a really good player may not get drafted, because the NBA game is totally different. It's all about athleticism and can you play one-on-one and can you guard one-on-one.
Yeah.
And so they kind of draft on, I think a lot of people were surprised that Scottie Lewis got drafted, but he's got that athleticism that the NBA people look for, and they're hoping that he can become a scorer.
Yeah, Scottie Lewis, I'm glad you segued, because I wanted to get into, and I want you to get your thoughts on this and get it out, and I'll do as well. The thought is, was last night's draft good or bad for Mike White? And we'll get into that in a moment, but I love what you just said. Sports a lot of times is about futures and drafting on potential. Scottie Lewis, the athlete that is on a basketball court, his tantalizing athleticism, Shane, that he's a pitcher with a 94-mile-an-hour fastball. Is what he is. He doesn't know where it's going right now, but not a lot of people can throw a baseball 94, 95. That's what he is. He's a tantalizing athlete, and using a baseball analogy, he's got that 95-mile-an-hour fastball that the scouts, you can't teach him to throw at 95 necessarily. You hope you can teach him to throw it kind of right here. Is kind of the whole concept. Florida has 2 players drafted. Trey Mann goes in the first round, about where most people thought. There was talk he was going to fall. He didn't fall. Trey Mann, really good year last year. And Scotty Lewis, say what you want, he got drafted in the second round. Not a lot of guys get drafted in the NBA. There was only 2 rounds. You know my stance, Shane, on Mike White. I think he's a great recruiter. I love the talent he acquires. I love his rosters generally that he's brought to Florida. I think he struggles on game day. I think Mike White cost his teams 3 or 4 games a year with his bench coaching. Was that a good or a bad night for Mike White? Average basketball team on the court, yet he had 2 draft picks out of 5 players that are on the court.
Well, Trey Mann is a very good basketball player. Scotty Lewis is not a very good basketball player, in my opinion. I think Scotty Lewis is like Dennis Rodman. I don't think anybody would have thought Dennis Rodman, if you would have followed him in college, would have said he was a great basketball player. But he did one thing well. He played defense and he rebounded. And that's what Scotty Lewis could become in the NBA.
Sure.
If anybody thinks Scotty played up to his potential, they're crazy. And I personally, some people can say that's coaching. I don't agree. The guy can't shoot. It's that simple.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ever seen him shoot a basketball, he's got way too much arc on it. But anyway, regardless, I'm not trying to be critical here, but we'll see how his NBA career turns out. But I think Trey Mann is an NBA guy. I've said it ever since he was my son's. We used to play middle school basketball against one another. You could tell at that age he was a very special and talented kid. So, we'll see. Talking about Coach Mike White, I like Mike White. I don't think his talent has been as great as people think.
Yeah.
Just because Scotty Lewis gets drafted, that doesn't mean he's great talent. They're hoping he becomes some type of talent. We'll see. I think this year, Florida's got a chance to be pretty good in basketball.
You look at a guy like Cade Cunningham, the number 1 pick, I guess, out of Oklahoma State. I bet she's thinking, man, I wish I'd have got in one more year of college. Think about it. He didn't get to maximize. He was number 1 pick in the NBA draft, and he didn't get to maximize his NIL even for 1 year. And I know that's just the way the cookie crumbles. But 2 players. Now that should help Mike White on the recruiting trail, as it has Leonard Hamilton on the recruiting trail. There's Leonard Hamilton, another lottery pick. I mean, FSU. 3 total players picked, I think. I'm losing the name of the FSU guy that went 4th. If you can help me out with that, Shane.
Barnes?
Scotty Barnes. Yeah, Scotty Barnes goes 4th. Another lottery pick for Leonard Hamilton. And then he had 2 guys drafted later, Gray and the big man Kopikova, I think is how you pronounce it, the big 7-footer. It can't hurt, though, Mike White on the recruiting trail. Now, those are 2 Mike White guys. That's not like guys that transferred in and he gets to piggyback. Mike White brought Trey Mann in, and he brought Scotty Lewis in. So those are his guys. That's got to help on the trail, doesn't it?
Well, I think so. But I personally think you're going to see all college coaches hardly even recruiting high school kids these days. I think they're going straight to the portal.
But those guys still want to make sure that the coach they're dribbling for in college can get them into the NBA. Several topics here we're going to kick around with Shane Matthews, College Sports Today on a Friday. We're in 2 different locations. Coach Spurrier off. He'll be back on Monday. Speaking of, let me regress or digress. I made my first trip to Spurrier's Gridiron Grille as a functioning restaurant last night. There was an event last night, and Shane, at the restaurant in Gainesville, all the big hitters were there. I'm talking, it was almost like a TMZ night. And I mean, there were big. I was there. Well, actually, Shane, you weren't there.
I was not there.
Okay.
That's why I go on the primetime nights. That'd be a Friday night.
Maybe I shouldn't have. You know what? There wasn't an event last night. You didn't miss anything, Shane.
No, that's like I just said. The primetime players show up on Friday nights, not on a measly Thursday night.
All the big boys were there Thursday night. TMZ was there. It was incredible. It was an incredible night. But seriously, had my first trip as a function restaurant. What a big time. We had some good, the food is wonderful. I had a table with my buddies from Vida de Louis. I got to order margarita with Vida de Louis in it and the Coco Loco drinks. And there are 2 or 3 Vida de Louis drinks on the drink menu that we're excited about. Good food. We had fritters. There was seafood flying, there was pasta flying, there were fillets flying, and Shane, Coach Spurrier, got the microphone. He put on a 10-minute display like he was playing Vegas. It was classic. I know it's out there viral, but have you eaten over there yet?
No, I mean I've been to several functions where they just had hors d'oeuvres and stuff.
Yeah.
I went before the building was even built. I went to a taste testing of all the different steaks and all that kind of stuff. So, but I know I'll be there tonight.
Oh, tonight, good. Well, you're going to enjoy it. We had a big time. I want to thank everybody, Freddie Weavy and everybody that included me and some of our sponsors and some of our prospective sponsors. Big time. Sat down, enjoyed the Gridiron Grill as you're supposed to enjoy it. I've been over there.
So what did Coach Spurrier say? I didn't see it.
It's probably viral, and he put on a comedy show. It was great. So he's talking, and it's probably out there because everybody had their cameras up. So I don't think I'm scooping anything, and I don't think Miss Jerry will get mad. But he got talking, Shane, at one point, and said he welcomed everybody and thanks, and said he'd be happy to if you can catch him real quick. He'll snap a picture. Said probably not going to sign a bunch of autographs. He's got to get out, and he then went on to say. And one other thing, if you want to grab me real quick for a photo, but I really don't like to do the whole guy hug thing, the bro hug thing. He says, I don't want to hug. Now, the women, they can hug me. He says, the women can hug me, but the guy thing, I don't want to do the guy thing hug.
That's funny. So I guess he'll be there speaking tonight. I don't know.
I would imagine. Now, there's one other thing that's probably viral, and I want to shoot this down, if you can bear with me. As I understand it, this has made all the rounds. There's a filthy rumor about last night's event at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, of which I attended. There's a filthy rumor that I might have maybe flirted with the cute server at our table last night. I want to shoot that down. She was a great server, and she was in charge of filling the water. And some people said, Terry, it was like you were drinking 4 gallons of water to make her keep coming over to the table. That's a dirty rumor, Shane.
Okay. You were well.
Yep.
You had plenty of fluids in you, is what you're saying?
Plenty of water, but H2O is good for you. Just because the water server girl was extremely beautiful, that's not why I drank 4 gallons of water to make her come to the table. And I did not flirt with her. I was professional. Shane Matthews, professional.
Good. You were hydrating.
Yes, I was. And by the way, I did invite in a couple of Vida de Louis drinks last night, but I had a good 2.5 hours before I got behind the wheel that I quit drinking, because you shouldn't drink and drive. So there you have it. Shane, obviously the story still in all of college athletics is Oklahoma, Texas coming over. That's a done deal. It slowed down some, but the incessant whining, I thought, and I know the Big 12 has to whine a little bit publicly because they know they're going in front of a room full of lawyers, and they're going to start trying to make Texas and Oklahoma pay the most they can. I get that, but my God, Oklahoma State jumped on it a couple of days ago. They were crying and whining about Texas going behind the scenes. I thought that was such a bad look for A&M and Oklahoma State. The little brothers, say what you want, but those are the 2 little brothers to Texas and Oklahoma. Shane, it was a bad look, particularly look at A&M. They did what they're accusing Texas of doing 10 years ago by turning their back on a conference and jumping into the SEC. I thought Oklahoma State and A&M really made themselves look small the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I haven't really paid much attention to it. They can complain and bitch all they want, but it is what it is. Those are 2 huge brands that wanted to join the Premier Conference.
Totally.
And I don't blame them one bit.
No. And Shane, you have the Big 12 and even a couple of the schools, A&M and Oklahoma State, talking about, going to court and forcing them and things like this. You look at it like a divorce. think about it. If you know somebody in a marriage doesn't want to be there, you can't force them to stay there. That's the worst thing that you could ever do is say, I'm going to try and force you to stay in this marriage. What good would it do to try and hold the feet to the fire of Oklahoma and Texas and say, A, we don't want you going. B, if you go, you've got to stay 3 more years. Shane, do you realize the terrible PR that the Big 12 would get if Oklahoma and Texas have to stay in through 2025? And they won't. They'll get out of that even next year. Can you imagine? Oklahoma's probably going to win the Big 12 in football 3 more years if they stay in. Isn't that the last thing you want is the lame duck Oklahoma team hoisting that trophy year after year? That would be terrible, wouldn't it?
And they got a very good chance of winning the national title this year. So, yeah, it's bizarre to me. I know they say 2025.
No.
I just feel like I don't care about what they got to pay. I know they're going to get lawyers. I think OU and Texas will be in the SEC next year.
Next year, absolutely. They're right now. A lot of it's posturing because they know they're going to get in and do some negotiating. Right? They're going to say, "Hey, we want to get out of the $75 million, but we'll do 40." And they're definitely. By the way, the money is no factor. Wouldn't you agree? Oklahoma and Texas, they'll chip in. They'll chip in a little bit. The SEC, if needed, they'll bring a bag of money. The ESPN, if needed, they'll bring a bag of money. The money isn't the money the least of the worries in this thing?
As far as I mean, it's a lot of money, but
it is. When
you think of $70, $80 million with those 2 programs, it really isn't a lot of money.
No, it really
isn't. They're going to make way more once they're in the conference.
Absolutely. And Shane, when you think 100 years down the road, it's not a lot of money. I mean, you're talking about this is a long-term money grab. That's not the faucet. You don't think it's going to get cut off in 5 years. This faucet's just going to start spewing money to degrees that we have never seen. I've been poking a lot of fun, like a lot of people have in social media. You know, obviously we're all SEC guys, and we know what this means for the strength of the SEC. Shane, when do we get to start counting as the bow your chest SEC, which we like to do? When do we start counting Oklahoma's 39 national titles and Texas? When do we get to count Texas and their 56 national titles, as it just means more? When do we count those?
As soon as they play a game, I would think. I mean, yeah, it's bizarre. But you have to count them, right?
Yeah. Does the SEC, and I've got a nomination, I'm being serious here for a moment. Does the SEC, I think they do they have to tweak their name a little bit?
I could see that possibly happening. But, man, that SEC ring just goes a long ways.
As I've been known to do because I'm really smart, as you can see the JU shirt I'm showing off. See there? That just means intelligence, is right. Jacksonville University is a synonym for intelligence, okay? Under that auspice, I have figured out the SEC name, and I want this to be my public announcement, and people have to say, well, Terry gets a little credit, gets some financial credit here. The SEC, and I'm being serious, they do need to tweak their name. Here's the new name that it should be, and I came up with it. SEC Plus. Simple, covers everything. It will never run out. It's not defined by any geographic. Now, SEC Plus. The SEC Plus. There's your new name. Like it?
I guess what the logo is going to be the circle SEC with a little plus sign over here.
I would do SEC, the plus sign, and then the word plus to balance it out. You know, SEC Plus.
No, I'm talking about they have our logo. The SEC logo is a circular logo.
Yeah. I got you.
Yeah. I don't know where you're going to put the plus sign.
No, you can work on that. Do I have to do everything? Shane, do I have to do everything?
You do. It's your show.
Jeez. By the way, you got a big gator behind you. You know that?
Are you dang right I do.
He's angry. Shane, he looks angry.
He's just hanging out.
What does you're not a big Saturday golfer, right?
Well, I'll play on the weekends sometimes, but not often. Most of my guys that I play with don't play on the weekends.
Because I was going to say you're 4 Saturdays away from college football, but that doesn't really crimp your golf because you're not a big Saturday, and certainly on college football Saturday.
No, not at all.
No. Not at all. A couple more topics. We'll get Shane Matthews out of here. Coach Spurrier will be back on Monday. Shane and I are in different locations, as you can tell. A lot of travel, a lot of work going on here this time of year as we're heading 29 days as we sit right now before college football. The NFL boys start their preseason next next Thursday. We'll get into this about the Oklahoma and Texas coming into the SEC. We've talked football ad nauseum. All that's going to work out, by the way. What are they going to do? Pods? Are they going to do East-West still? Are they going to do pods? All that's going to work out. Shane, I don't even worry about where and how strong one pod or one side may get, because, Shane, I've been in this a long time. That's all cyclical. You can sit here and go, my God, you can't put Oklahoma and Texas in with Alabama. You know what? 6 years from now, those three may be average at best. I don't worry about who gets put where, because I think it's cyclical. If this happened 10 years ago, people will be screaming, you can't put Florida and Tennessee and Oklahoma together. Well, we see where Tennessee's at. Are you worried where they put? I think it's all cyclical and it'll work itself.
Well, the one that I saw the other day, and maybe it was Brent that brought it up, it looked about as even as anything I've seen when it comes to the pods. It had Florida, Georgia were the two main in one. You had Alabama and Auburn in the other with the two Mississippi schools. You had LSU and A&M with, I think, Kentucky and Vanderbilt. And then you had OU, Texas with Missouri and Arkansas. So it had like, two perennial teams that actually have a chance of winning the conference in each pod.
Interesting. But now, Shane, that looked balanced and fair today. 5 years from now,
well, it might not, but I think when you think of the history of those programs overall, that I think that would be the fairest way of doing it. I think they need to get away with the divisions, and whoever has the two best records goes and plays for the championship.
When you say record, you mean rankings?
Rankings, records, however they want to do it, with the top two teams.
Yeah, so that will keep a lot of
and even I don't have a problem with two teams being from the same pod.
Okay. Fair enough. I'm okay with that, but that theory, I'm okay with that whole theory. That keeps the human element in it a lot. That keeps the.
Well, you're talking about rankings.
Well, it's got to be rankings. You could have, with 16 teams, you could have 4 teams with the same record, but one of them beat 3 of them.
Well, I don't know if rankings is the way to decide it. There's got to be some kind of tiebreaker situation that. I mean, hell, when it comes to the NFL, sometimes you have no idea how they figure out who's going to. Everybody could have a 10-3 record, and this guy beat that guy on this day, and then they got some kind of tiebreaker. I don't know. I don't know about rankings, because rankings are the same way. It's a human element. They may have a computer, but
that's what I'm saying, Shane. What I'm saying is, if you say it's the best record, well, when you're playing 12 games and 16 teams, several teams, unless only two of them are undefeated, several teams are going to have the same record, but they're going to beat each other. So you got to have a way to differentiate that.
Yeah, whether it's rankings, but I don't know if that's the right way to do it. They don't do that in the NFL. They have a system that they go by.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what they need to implement.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing about the NFL. And you can argue this. It's been, by the way, the polls and the rankings have been spectacular for college football in this aspect. Do you know how much free publicity the polls and rankings have gotten the sport of college football since 1936? Absolutely free publicity. But the beautiful thing about the NFL is, the human element's out of it pretty much. And I get it. The humans put the tiebreakers in, but it's decided on the field. The playoff participants are decided.
Because, I'm just thinking of a scenario right now. If you say rankings, obviously for the most part, Alabama's and the Georgias and the A&Ms and Oklahomas, they're already going to be ranked so high in preseason. And say there's a Missouri that comes out of nowhere and goes 11-1, but then you still have Oklahoma, these other schools that they were ranked so far at the beginning of the year, there's no way for a Cinderella to kind of get ahead of them. You see what I'm saying? I do. Leave it on rankings.
I do. A couple more minutes with Shane. Shane, not a lot, not all, but there's a big group that wow, the SEC is too strong, and I don't want these great schools. I'm just the opposite. I want to get your opinion. I love strengthening, get as strong as I can get. I think iron sharpens iron, steel sharpens steel, whatever that saying is. I'm all for bring as good as – hell, if they can get Notre Dame, bring Notre Dame. If they can get USC, bring as good a teams and programs. Iron sharpens iron is the way I look at it. Some fans are like, well, that's going to make it too hard. What your thoughts on that?
Well, it ain't going to be easy, I can tell you that. But it's going to make it very interesting when you have the premier programs all playing each other. It sits at 16 right now. Who knows? They may add more. But with the 12-team playoff, you're going to see a bunch of teams from the SEC Plus in the
I like it.
in the 12-team playoff.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. That's a great name. Did you just think of SEC Plus?
I did.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have a logo for that yet, or are you working on it?
I don't know, but my logo would be better than the logo you just described.
Okay, there we go. Boy, I tell you, at the end, it's Friday, and it's at the end of the show, and you're getting nasty. You're getting nasty, and I know you're still hurt because you didn't make the big event last night. Everybody who was anybody in Gainesville and in Florida was there, and you weren't there.
Here's the thing. It's like Friday Night Lights, Terry. No, JV plays on Thursdays, and the varsity plays on Fridays. That's all I can say.
Who asked you on this show? Hey, we don't have time to get into this too much, but and we'll get into it later because basketball season, is a few months away. How about Oklahoma, Texas come over? How about the young, good coaches they bring? Chris Beard is now the Texas coach from Texas Tech. Chris Beard, everybody loves that guy. He did great things at Texas Tech. Porter Moser. Don't forget, he took over the Oklahoma job, the Loyola Marymount or Loyola Chicago guy. Porter Moser, who did great things.
Well, yeah, and then somebody brought up on my show today, I didn't think about this, old Patty Gasso will be bringing her crew to Gainesville. And Texas, I think his name is something White. Oh, maybe it's Mike White or something like that. He had a lot of success at Oregon. Now he's the head softball coach at Texas. I think they made a deep run this year. But good gracious.
Yeah, Oklahoma softball
got difficult.
Woo! Coming into the SEC, and they still have helped me with the pitching coach that was at Florida for so long.
Jen Rocha.
Woo! I mean, how good is that going to be? Softball. That's going to be just a meat grinder.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
We may pick this up on the other side. You'll be gone, Shane. We don't have time to talk, but bowl games and opting out, we got to get into that in a week or two. Bowl games better figure something out. I mean, why on God's green earth? You already got a little jingle on your pocket. You're on an 8-4 team. You got some money. Your team may be going to the Independence Bowl. Why would you want to hang around 3 or 4 weeks with your team when a business says, hey, we want you to come to our Las Vegas week where we all gather. We'll pay you. I think the bowl games and opting out are going to be worse. But real quick, I want to throw this out. How about the pop-up star? And this happens in college football every year. There's guys right now that aren't stars that 6 weeks from now become pop-up stars. I mean, those guys are going to walk into, hey, I'm now starting. I'm the starting running back. I'm a 200-yard, the pop-up star like Rudy. Can you imagine how much money would Rudy have made off one play? Way back when.
But Terry, I believe that there's not going to be a whole lot of guys making a lot of money. I said on my show the other day, I talked to 2 guys from major football programs that are involved with their programs, and off the record, they told me that most, like 99% of their players are getting the free meals here, $5 for this autograph. I mean, because think about it. There's not a whole lot of star power. And just because a guy goes out and runs for 200 against Alabama, he may get a signing at a car dealership. I mean, have you heard anybody getting a free car yet?
No.
Yeah, that's my point. We all thought this was going to happen, but if you own a business, you always talk about you got to get a return on your investment. I mean, Spencer Rattler is probably the biggest name in college football right now. Am I wrong?
No.
Yeah.
Quarterback at the preseason.
And here's the thing. He got a deal with Raising Cane's with some other players, which is a fast food chicken place based out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's in a lot of college towns. But we don't know if they paid him $30,000 or if they said, here's a voucher. You get $500 a month for free chicken. Yeah. We don't know.
Yeah. And we've been, you and I are on the same page. This thing's going to work itself out. It's going to look a lot different 2 years from now than it looks now. I'm with you as well. I think this year we're going to look back and there are going to be several guys that had a money grab and they wouldn't have got it 2 years later because these businesses are going to look at ROI and stuff. I agree. It's going to work. It's going to look a lot
Here's who's going to make the most money. And we talked about it on my show today. The young lady that just won the gold medal in the Olympics in gymnastics is going to Auburn.
Yeah.
Okay, think about Mary Lou Retton back in the day when she was on the Wheaties box and stuff.
Yeah.
That young lady's probably going to make more than anybody on the Auburn campus.
How much money do you think Rudy would have made? One sack. Little 5'0" playing at Notre Dame.
Well,
every Catholic business in the world would have wanted to buy him something.
Possibly,
right?
or it would have been all the other walk-ons that own businesses.
Yeah.
Because they know what it was like to be a walk-on.
All right, Shane, walk on out of here. Get out of here. There'll be a lot of stuff. You'll see. They had me sign a lot of stuff at Spurrier's last night. You'll probably be sitting in a chair that I signed, so enjoy yourself.
Sweet. I can't wait.
All right, buddy. We'll see you next week. That is
Later.
Shane Matthews. Halfway home on a Friday. Stay where you're at. We've got some other topics. I'll come back, kind of set everything up, including some pretty neat programming coming up. Boy, if you love college sports, college football, you are in for a big treat because it is that time of year. College Sports Today continues on a Friday right after this timeout.
The good vibes. What? All the good vibes we had, we'll have again. All the good vibes we've had, we'll have again. All the good vibes we've had, we'll have again. All the good vibes we've had, we'll have again.
Taste the islands and every drop of Vida de Luis tequila. 100% blue agave from Tequila, Mexico. Good vibes.
All the good vibes we've had, we'll have again. All the good vibes we've had, we'll have again.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi. Hey, look, it's those guys. Are you good to drive?
I'm fine.
How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be.
Go and step out of the vehicle for me.
See ya, buddy. Good luck. So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing, and it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.
I don't remember how it started.
Talk to Dad.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs? Just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Back we are kicking off the second half of College Sports Today. Glad you're with us here as we are heading into the final weekend of July. I have to take a quick second and thank all the great sponsors. You saw some of them a moment ago that make College Sports Today possible. I spent a good deal of the evening last night with my buddies from Vida de Luis, the official tequila of College Sports Today. And we were at Spurrier's Gridiron Grille. You can find it on several signature or in several signature drinks that are on the drink menu. Look for it and call it out by name, Vida de Luis Tequila, at your favorite establishment, including Spurrier's Gridiron, Grille, the two great Safe Harbor seafood locations, the original in Mayport with the dine-in or take out the market. Remember, you can take all your great fresh seafood home with you from Safe Harbor Seafood Mayport. Same is the case for the newer, the second location of Safe Harbor Seafood in Crescent Beach, up and running now, coming up on a year, starting to get near a year for the second location of Safe Harbor Seafood. Tomorrow, I will be at that location, Sliders Oyster Bar. We're going to have a little fun. We're going to show off our t-shirt line, our Duval Pride t-shirt line that can be customized. If you're in the area tomorrow, heading to the beach or coming out of the beach, swing by and take a look, say hi. We'll talk some ball, and you'll look at this great t-shirt line I've developed for the football fan, particularly the Jaguar fan. But if you're going to the beach, come by. We'll be set up about 10:30 to 2 tomorrow at Sliders Oyster Bar in Neptune Beach. You can look at the clothing line I've developed, and I guarantee you we'll talk some ball tomorrow on the patio at Sliders Oyster Bar, Neptune Beach. If you can hear it, if you can see it, you are invited. And I want to thank our newest sponsor, JB Coxwell Contracting. I've known the family for a very, very, very long time. Generally considered the most well-respected heavy civil construction firm in Northeast Florida. Underground utilities, heavy highway, civil construction in the public also and private sectors. Contact JB Coxwell Contracting. If you have a need for their services, they will get it done. Been doing it since 1983. So there you have it. I want to thank our great sponsors that make this show happen. If you want to become a sponsor, just reach out to me. There's a million ways. Any of the Facebook Live pages, you can send me a direct message. And also right here, you see the email address. Contact me. It goes right to me, tnsportsjacks@yahoo.com. And I will get back with you. We'll get your business product or service advertised right here on College Sports Today with Spurrier, Matthews, and Norvell. A couple topics before we get out of here and get into the weekend in earnest, as it's we'll count them down. 29 days today until college football. Tomorrow, 4 weeks, exactly 4 Saturdays from tomorrow, college football starts on August 28th. There's a abbreviated schedule. There are a couple games to watch. I can't wait to see UCLA. They are on that day. They play Hawaii, I believe it is. And really the big game, there's a Big Ten game. 4 weeks from tomorrow, the Big Ten opener for Nebraska and Illinois. Scott Frost needs a good showing. He needs a good season. And Illinois is kind of a rebuild under Brett Bielema, but that's a watchable right out of the gate, a Big Ten game. 4 weeks from tomorrow, college football season officially kicks off. With that, we are in a situation where college football in general, maybe not the biggest of the big boys, the SEC and the Big Ten, but there's a money crunch out there. With that being the backdrop, I have said this for years. I think it will definitely come to fruition soon. You're going to see college football spring games with opponents. You're going to bring in opponents. I think there's going to be a situation where, particularly losing all the money these schools did last year, the spring games, I've been screaming for years, are revenue makers that are not being tapped into. You're playing yourself anyway. You're playing tackle football anyway. Why not bring an opponent instead of letting free admission or $5 admission? If you bring in an opponent, you charge $50. You'll get 50,000 people. People want to see what's going on, particularly with some of the players that didn't play the year before. Now, that's number one. Number two, spring games. I think college football is going to eliminate one regular season game. I think they're going to move the schedule back in the next couple of years to start the final Saturday in August to buy themselves extra room. If you move the schedule back to the final Saturday in August and you knock off one game, the schedule fits nicely. An 11-game schedule in a 12-week season. You replace the revenue missed to a degree with the new TV money coming. You can hand out $1 million checks to the Big 65 to replace the game. Now, with that said, the spring game sitting there, if you have to eliminate a game, the Floridas and the Alabamas of the world may eliminate the Georgia Southerns of the world. Well, you say, well, that's going to hurt their athletic program. Why not bring the Georgia Southerns or the Southern Misses in for the spring game? Still send them a check for $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000. Everybody's happy. I think you're going to see spring games turned into revenue makers in the near future, even at the Division I Power 5 level. Mark that down. The other concern, I just barely got into it with Shane, and we didn't have enough time to dive into it. Bowl games better be thinking of a new plan. bowl games are going to be all but obsolete. If you're not tied into the playoff, good luck, and good luck playing your bowl game at the end of the season. I think every idea, as crazy as any idea might be, needs to be on the table and talked about. I'm not so sure that the bowl games don't need to reconfigure themselves and match their bowl game up with a big regular season game in the beginning of the season. Bowl games might need to move. Think about it. We've got an issue, an epidemic right now with star power opting out of their bowl games. Many, many players the last 3 or 4 years just say, I'm not playing in the bowl game under the excuse, I'll use that heavy word, of, well, I want to get ready for the NFL draft. If their game is not a playoff type game, the star power is opting out right now. That was pre-NIL. Can you imagine now that a lot of these players have money sources coming into their pocket, and take that, let's say let me pick out a play. De'Aaron King. Let me use him as an example. De'Aaron King, quarterback Miami. Let's say the Canes go 8-4, 9-3. Nice year. Okay. De'Aaron King's already making a good amount of money with his NIL. De'Aaron King has deals with several corporations and companies paying him NIL money right now. De'Aaron King, Miami, they go 8-4, and they are slotted to go play in the Shreveport Independence Bowl. If you're De'Aaron King and you're talking, you've already got money in your pocket. Do you seriously want to still be tied to your football program for what, 3.5, maybe 4 weeks in December, knowing that you're going to go on a break early in December, your season ended, regular season, you're going to reconvene, you're going to have practices, you're going to travel to a bowl site, you're going to have some more practices, you're going to play a meaningless bowl game, right? And you're going to do all that. So you are giving that program 3.5, 4 more weeks, yet you're talking to some of these businesses, and one of these businesses may say, hey, De'Aaron, we have our annual meeting every year. We bring everybody in. This year it's going to be in Vegas. We were hoping, in late December, we were hoping you could come out. We'll fly you and a guest on the house, bring a guest, stay a couple, 2 or 3 days, travel. We'd like you to play golf with the big hitters on one day, speak at our banquet the next night. We'll pay you $2,500, pay you $5,000, and all expense paid. If you're De'Aaron King, are you going to say, well, I'm tied up with this bowl game. I got to go to this Independence Bowl. I can't really work that in. I can't really go for 4 or 5. Are you kidding me? You think opting out is bad now? That scenario is going to stare down a lot of bowls. The bowls need to really, and they're probably doing it as we speak. But if you're a board of directors for one of these bowls, I would be meeting and brainstorming, and I would throw everything on the table. I think these early season big games, I think those set up for the bowl game to sponsor. Who says the Orange Bowl can't be the second Saturday in September or the first Saturday in September? You say, hey, the Orange Bowl wants to sponsor Florida, Tennessee. You can call it, hey, wherever it's played, that's great. Call it the Orange Bowl. Those bowls better think of ways to stay alive because they're sinking. The bowls were sinking. The water's up to here before the NIL. Good luck. Good luck getting these players to hang around. They're thinking, wait a minute, I need to spend 20 days in December, 18 days with this football program, going to this meaningless bowl. I'd rather go sign autographs every Saturday or make an appearance or speak to a group or go do a photo shoot, whatever, cut a commercial. Good luck. Good luck getting those guys. The opting out is not going to decrease because, let me wrap it up with this. The opting out problem in college football is not going to decrease because of this new NIL. It's probably going to increase. You better figure something out. Bowl game. That'll wrap it up. Again, had a great time last night at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Opens to the public August 11th. I've been over there 8 times, probably on business, touring and working and doing different things. First time I went as a patron, sat down and was served food. The food was just exquisite. Great service, great food. Enjoyed some adult beverages. You're going to really enjoy it, and it is coming soon. Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. I have given the SEC a new name. They've got a name, I think, renamed to a degree because it's just gotten way too big to be the SEC, the Southeastern Conference. The SEC Plus. SEC Plus. You heard it here first. Thank you very much. You're welcome. SEC. That'll wrap it up. I want to thank Shane Matthews for hanging around the first half. And, of course, Evan Miller, who's doing extra work as we are in different locations. Evan, thank you for all of your hard work that goes into making College Sports Today this show. So as we get out of here, number one, we'll be back Monday, 11 a.m. If you're new to the show, if you're listening on our podcast platforms, remember you can follow us anytime and follow it as a TV show. Go to Facebook, College Sports Today. Follow that on Facebook. Also YouTube. Subscribe, College Sports Today, and keep listening on the podcast if that is how you consume the show. I hope to see you folks in the Northeast Florida area. If you're out and about near Neptune Beach, near Sliders Oyster Bar, I'm going to be set up tomorrow on the patio. Come see this neat line of shirts and hats I've developed, really kind of Jaguar themed, and you can customize them. You got to see them to believe them. We'll have some samples out. You can order online right there on the premises. Come see me tomorrow at Sliders Oyster Bar, 10:30ish to 2. If you're going to the beach or coming back from the beach, stop by Sliders if you're in the neighborhood. And I'd like to talk some ball, shake your hand, and say hello as we are closing in on college football. For the gang, I'm Terry Norvell. We'll do it again Monday, the next edition of College Sports Today.